Present us, O Lord, in all our doings with thy most gracious favour, and further us with thy continual help, that in all our works begun, continued, and ended in thee, we may glorify thy holy name, and finally, by thy mercy, attain everlasting life. Amen. Introduction of guests. I recognize the member from Regina, Wascana Plains.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my riding, in my constituency of Regina, Wascana Plains, I have the privilege of having 4 elementary schools in that constituency. One is aptly named Wascana Plains School, and I want to welcome the group from Cole, Wascana Plains. They're grade 4 students, grade 4-5 students in that horde of humanity up there somewhere, along with their teacher, Ms. Callan Hammond, and chaperone, Larissa Bowden. I'd like to welcome those kids in the class to their legislator. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Lumsden Morse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to be on my feet this morning welcoming a great group from kind of headquartered in the Herbert area. A homeschool group this morning, Mr. Speaker, 32 plus K-12 students, along with 12 parent/teacher chaperones. And that's a great student-to-teacher ratio if I ever saw one. Mr. Speaker, I'll just take a moment to really quickly introduce the teachers that are with us. Kalita Rutledge, Braden Holefield, Narissa Holefield, Lisa Poirier, Michael Cortell, Colin Smith, Jill Smith, Ken Froese, Sarah and Sean Holefield, and Kim Fast and Sarah Wepler. I look forward to meeting you after on the stairs and then downstairs for a quick meet and greet. And one thing that I always love to do is make sure that there's ice cream for everyone. So look forward to that.
I recognize the member from Regina Pasqua.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, through you, I would like to welcome 58 of grade 8 students from Harbour Landing Elementary School in Regina Pasqua seated in the East Gallery. Mr. Speaker, some of the students in this group are kids of my fast friends. Mr. Speaker, this group of students from Harbour Landing School are accompanied by their teacher Daniel Stenson and Brainy. I apologize if I take the pronounced wrong name. Mr. Speaker, when I see any teacher, my whole life comes into picture. Who I am and what I am, that is due to my teacher, like a teacher sitting in the gallery. These teachers are truly nation builder and students are our future. Mr. Speaker, with this, I will request all members of this Legislative Assembly to join me in giving a warm welcome teacher Daniel Sten and along with the other teacher Brainy and our future faces into their assembly. Thank you.
Recognize the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To you and through you, I'd like to welcome Carolyn Sear from the Heart and Stroke Foundation to her Legislative Assembly this morning. She's up in the Speaker's Gallery. I'd just like to quickly thank Carolyn and her team for the important work they do for advocating on several important issues. I know we've made some changes in this budget to the vapor products tax, largely thanks to the advocacy of people like Carolyn and her organization. I know, Mr. Speaker, coming up, Heart and Stroke is also going to be doing some cardiac crash training events for members of the House. I would encourage all members to take part in that training and make sure that they're able to help folks in need in their community. So again, to you and through you, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask all members of the Assembly to help me in welcoming Carolyn to her Legislative Assembly.
I recognize the member from Regina Rochdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm also absolutely delighted and proud to introduce one of this province's stellar healthcare professionals and fellow nurse who hails from my constituency, Regina Rochdale, Carolyn Sear. Carolyn is a seasoned health policy systems leader and has extensive experience in communicable disease management and public health. She's the Director of Health Policy and Systems at Heart and Stroke. Carolyn previously held key roles at Indigenous Services, including manager of the Communicable Disease Unit and acting director of the Health Protection Division. Prior to that, you may know that Carolyn worked at Health Canada as a regional e-health nurse advisor and communicable disease coordinator. Additionally, Carolyn has experience in academia as a nurse instructor and a teaching assistant at the University of Saskatchewan. She holds a public health degree, master's, nursing and physiology degrees from the University of Saskatchewan. She is here today on behalf of the Heart and Stroke Foundation to deliver to our NDP caucus the Cardiac Crash Program. And we are pumped about our elbows up to get our chest compressions deep to keep hearts beating in case you ever need it. Join me in welcoming this esteemed visitor, Carolyn Sear, to our and her legislature.
I recognize the member from Cumberland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as was previously stated, there was some students in the East Gallery. I want to pick on one student over there, and it's the student with a beard, Chaplain Fred Hill. I had the pleasure of meeting with Chaplain earlier this week, and I just wanted to quickly take to my feet to thank him for the service that he has to all members in this Assembly, and appreciate all the wisdom that he gives all of us, and welcome him to his legislature today.
Recognize the member from Regina Mount Royal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To you and through you, it's a pleasure to join with the member for Regina Pasqua to give a very brief shout out to my good hockey friend, Brianne McFetridge, for joining us here today. Brianne is a dedicated and exceptional teacher, and her and her husband, Kyle, are deeply involved in hockey and in sport within our community. Kyle's a senior leader with the Regina Police as well. They're just a wonderful family, and I know she's dedicated to that group of students up there in a really exceptional way. It's my pleasure to welcome Brianne McFetridge to her assembly.
Presenting petitions. I recognize the member from Regina Coronation Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We, the undersigned resident of the province of Saskatchewan, wish to bring it to your attention the following. That Saskatchewan has the highest suicide rate among the provinces. That Indigenous people die by suicide 4 times higher than non-Indigenous people in our province. That Saskatchewan continued to break its own record in overdose death by 484 suspected or confirmed overdose deaths in 2023. That 1 in 4 youth in Saskatchewan have reported having engaged in self-harm at some point. That 1 in 4 youth reported having considered suicide in past year. That the Child and Youth Advocate in her 2022 reports noted that a long waiting time and insufficient mental health and addiction services are leaving many children and youth without access to care when they need it. We in the prayer that read as follows respectfully request the Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan to call on Government of Saskatchewan to work with experts, community leaders on evidence-based solution to deal with the mental health addiction crisis in our province. The signatory of this petition reside in Saskatoon. I do so present.
I recognize the member from Regina Walsh Acres.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to present a petition calling on the government to save our swales. The undersigned residents would like to bring to our attention the following. The Ministry of Highways is planning a 4-lane high-speed highway around parts of Saskatoon and through the swales. And the Northeast Swale and the small swales of Saskatoon provide food and habitat to a number of endangered and declining species, and many others not listed as endangered. As part of our shared natural history, or natural heritage rather, and include rare fescue grassland and high-quality functional wetlands. I'll read the prayer. We in the prayer that reads as follows respectfully request that the Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan call on the provincial government to 1. Suspend the planning for the Saskatoon Freeway and development around the swales until a regional cumulative effects assessment has been completed. 2. Update the Wildlife Act and expand the list of wild species protected by provincial regulation. 3. Recognize the swales as important ecological habitat and designate them as protected areas. And 4. Ensure adequate long-term funding for research, management, and enforcement to protect the swales for future generations. Mr. Speaker, the signatories today reside in Saskatoon. I do so present.
I recognize the member from Yorkton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We, the undersigned residents of the province of Saskatchewan, wish to bring to your attention the following: that the province of Saskatchewan exported over $4.3 billion in goods to China in 2024. Nearly $1 billion of these exports are canola products. Further, that the devastating 100% tariff on Canadian-produced canola, pork, and peas by China will have a disproportionate effect on Saskatchewan producers and the province's economy. We, in the prayer that reads as follows, respectfully request that the Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan take the following action: that the Government of Canada take immediate action to remove the harmful tariffs on canola, pork, and peas that are disproportionately affecting the producers and farmers of the province of Saskatchewan. That the federal government immediately engage in meaningful dialogue with representatives of the Chinese government to eliminate tariffs that harm Saskatchewan producers. The below undersigned are residents of Moose Jaw, the RM of Prince Albert, and Regina. I do so present.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Silver Springs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We, the undersigned residents of the province of Saskatchewan, wish to bring to your attention the following: that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action from 2015 included call number 80, which called upon the federal government in collaboration with Aboriginal peoples to establish as a statutory holiday a national day for truth and reconciliation to honour survivors, their families and communities, and ensure that public commemoration of the history and legacy of residential schools remains a vital component of the reconciliation process. That Bill C-5, the legislation to establish the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, received royal assent on June 3, 2021, making the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation an official federal statutory holiday, first marked on September 30, 2021. That most workers of Saskatchewan, unless they work for the federal government or in select few workplaces that recognize the importance of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, do not get any time off on September 30th or special wage rates when required to work on that day. That the people and institutions of Saskatchewan still have significant work ahead in the journey toward reconciliation. We, in the prayer that reads as follows, respectfully request the Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan call on the Government of Saskatchewan to make September 30th a public statutory holiday in Saskatchewan in recognition of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Mr. Speaker, the signatories of this petition reside in Saskatoon. I do so submit.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon University Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to present a petition calling to improve the standards of eligibility for long-term care. The undersigned residents of the province of Saskatchewan wish to bring to your attention the following: that seniors applying for long-term care in Saskatchewan say eligibility criteria are subjective and unclear, that wait times to be admitted to LTC are several months long, resulting in some seniors to stay in hospital for a lengthy period or remain at home without adequate care. That families with seniors on wait list may be forced to engage private home care even they cannot afford it long term. I will say the prayer as follows. Respectfully request the Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan call on the Government of Saskatchewan to work directly with seniors and long-term care homes to improve standards of eligibility for people seeking admission to long-term care. The petition has been signed by the residents of Regina. I do so submit.
Reading and receiving petitions. Statements by members. I recognize the member from Kelvington-Wadena.
Mr. Speaker, I was honoured to attend the provincial snowmobile rally in Kelvington on the weekend of February 21st and 22nd, along with the member from Last Mountain Touchwood and former member Fred Bradshaw. This rally is bid on by one of the 62 Saskatchewan clubs every year and is a great get-together for all snowmobile riders. This year it was hosted by the Kelvington Trailblazers, who put on a great event for the 220 registered riders. There was entertainment from a local band, silent auction items, and live draws, and I'm sure next year's event in Hudson Bay will be just as entertaining. I was not personally able to ride that day, but I did go in circles for 4 hours with my kids on their mini sled instead. The meals and entertainment were exceptional, along with fantastic riding as the weather really cooperated. Saskatchewan has over 11,200 kilometers of groomed trails, 261 warm-up shelters, and this is all looked after by the amazing club volunteers. Amazing. That's the Saskatchewan way, Mr. Speaker.
Absolutely. Hear, hear.
Our government has helped out financially with the grooming of these trails by contributing $110 for every sled registered in Saskatchewan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you again to the Kelvington Trailblazers and all the riders who made it out for a great weekend.
Super good.
I recognize the member for Regina-Rochdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in the House today to acknowledge that March is Pharmacy Appreciation Month. This year's theme, Pharmacy Can, is designed to highlight what pharmacists and pharmacist staff do to contribute to our healthcare system. As a nurse, I'm very aware of the important role that pharmacists, pharmacist technicians, and pharmacy teams play in ensuring that patients receive safe care. Pharmacists are the medication management experts in healthcare, and their knowledge is vital in keeping people healthy. There are 46,000 pharmacists in Canada, and I know some might be sitting right next to you across in this aisle. Thank you for what you do. Do you know how many clients pharmacists see each week in Canada? 10 million. Our pharmacist professionals provide essential work, and they did, especially during COVID. They provide vaccinations, rapid test kits, and advocating for increased access to things like essential medications and PPE. I'd like everyone to join in me in thanking pharmacy professionals for their crucial contributions and commitment to providing important healthcare services to the people of Saskatchewan and of Canada.
I recognize the member from Moosomin-Mulmark.
Mr. Speaker, I want to recognize a major milestone for healthcare and accessibility in southeast Saskatchewan with the completion of the $10.6 million Moosomin Airport expansion.
Here, here.
Mr. Speaker, I was proud to MC the meeting back in February 2023 when this government and Nutrien announced each would contribute a quarter of the cost of a new runway, with local businesses and local governments also each contributing one quarter. And I was there when the Saskatchewan Air Ambulance made some of its first landings on the new runway. It was an emotional day. I was there with Dr. Skulk van der Merwe, who says that the new runway literally makes a life and death difference for some patients. Moosomin is a busy medical centre, and the Air Ambulance now links that centre and the region it serves with pediatric and stroke care in Saskatoon with a flight time of less than an hour. Mr. Speaker, this project never would have got off the ground without a lot of hard work by the committee, and it really took flight when the cost was split 4 ways, with private and public funding, local and provincial, all contributing. This is a great example of what can be accomplished when the public and private sectors, provincial and local levels work together. But this project never would have come to fruition without a huge amount of work by all of the committee members behind it. And I want to take this time to thank all those who played any part in making the Moosomin Airport expansion a reality. Thank you.
Here.
I recognize the member from Cumberland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, we were honoured to host the Yate Nene Lands and Resources Team, which means Lands of the North in Dene, here in the Provincial Legislature building. We were joined by so many wonderful Northern leaders like Black Lake Denestoline First Nation Chief Corinne Saizi, who I might add was the first woman elected to Chief of her nation, Mayor of Stony Rapids Daniel Powder, Councillor John Toussaint, and many more amazing Northern leaders. After a good day filled with vigorous debate on this floor, we were able to join one another and share in the beautiful culture of the North. Elder John Toussaint led us in prayer, spoke to us about the importance of the drum and the connection the Dene people have with the caribou. We were able to see a video of many of the Athabascan region's beautiful places, like Fond du Lac, Athabasca Sand Dunes, Elizabeth Falls, and the rapids that weave their way around Stony Rapids, or in my constituency, Wollaston Lake and Hatchet Lake, and so many more beautiful sights to see. Colleagues from both sides of this House were then led by Elder John Toussaint, who taught us all Dene hand games, of which I must admit was the most fun that I've had in this building since being here. I had my fill of dry meat, trout, and some of the best bannock I've had in a long time. I want to thank Mary Denecheze and the leadership team at Yatenini Lands and Resources team, their commitment to the land and resources, and moreover, the people and animals that call the beautiful Athabasca Basin home, for bringing the North to this building and reminding us all that it is through language, culture, and collaboration that we can all succeed here in Saskatchewan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Carrot River Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government's economic and capital investment strategies are working. In RBC's recent macroeconomic outlook for 2025, Saskatchewan is, quote, expected to remain among the top provincial performers this year, driven by resilient resource sectors despite potential headwinds from U.S. tariffs. That's not the only good news. RBC has about our economy, quote, major construction projects are set to propel Saskatchewan's economy this year, which we forecast will grow by 1.9%. Our economic growth rate is projected to remain ahead of the Canadian average for a fourth year straight. Our unemployment rate remains lower than almost all other provinces. Our housing market has been among the most active in the nation in 2024. And capital spending intentions show an 11% increase this year. Mr. Speaker, this growth is only possible because of the efforts of our producers, our workers, and by creating policies that allow this growth to happen. That's something that just wouldn't be possible under an NDP government. Just look at Manitoba, where RBC expects the unemployment rate to rise to 6.3% this year. Mr. Speaker, our government will take no lessons from the opposition on the economy. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Regina Douglas Park.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to highlight Ranch Erlo's 4th annual naming feast, which I had the honor of attending on January 7th of this year at the Keston Training Centre located at Ranch Erlo's Pilot Butte campus. I am grateful I was able to take part in this very special event. This event happens annually to honor Erlo's given name, Thundering Buffalo Lodge. This year's event was the official final feast to conclude the naming ceremony. I was honored to attend the original naming ceremony 4 years ago, where the lodge was named. Participants at that event were also given traditional names, and I was given the name Fast Running Water Woman. This event was a chance to sit in ceremony and community to respect the Indigenous name given to the ranch space and the Indigenous names given to those of us that participated in the naming ceremony a few years ago. Ranch Erlo is a nonprofit organization with a mission to provide quality preventative and restorative services to and advocacy for individuals and families throughout southern Saskatchewan and in and around Saskatoon and Prince Albert. I want to thank the elder who joined us that day, and also pay special thanks to Shelley Tamaki, who invited me to the original naming ceremony. Mr. Speaker, I ask that all members join me in thanking everyone who made this opportunity possible. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Kenora Pelly.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the members opposite said this year's budget is, quote, not worth the paper it is written on. I'd like to ask those members to tell that to the 54,000 Saskatchewan people no longer paying provincial income tax, who they say are not worth it, or the 85,000 graduates starting their careers in Saskatchewan who benefit from the graduate retention program. The NDP says those young people are not worth it. What about the 100 new police officers that will make our communities safer for Saskatchewan families? But the NDP say those officers and families are not worth it. Or the people of beautiful Prince Albert who are about to have a brand new hospital. Guess what? The people of Prince Albert are not worth it to the members opposite. Mr. Speaker, we are investing in seniors, including increases to the seniors' income plan, the personal care home benefit, free at-home nursing services, and extended coverage for glucose monitoring systems. But again, the NDP don't think the seniors are worth it. Mr. Speaker, while the NDP had a press conference to tell Saskatchewan people they would shred all of these investments, on this side of the House, we are proud of what this budget delivers for Saskatchewan families and communities because we know they are worth it.
Question period. I recognize the Leader of the Opposition.
Yesterday, the Premier announced that he's scrapping the Sask Party carbon tax, otherwise known as LBES. Mr. Speaker, fine. It's been nothing but a slush fund for this government anyways.
That's right.
But here's a question for the Premier. What's the plan for the nearly $500 million hole that he's just blown in the budget that we're supposed to be voting off just today?
I recognize the Premier.
Budget will be immaterial. The material impact will be on Saskatchewan families, Mr.
Here,
Speaker.
here.
Because the plan moving forward is to reduce the power bill of each and every Saskatchewan family, Mr. Speaker. A power bill today that has over 10% of that bill is carbon tax, increasing to over 25%, Mr. Speaker. And our ask is for all of those folks that are running in the national election to be very clear with Saskatchewan people on their intent when it comes to the heavy emitter carbon tax, which is the quiet carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. It's a quiet carbon tax that few see, with the exception of our Saskatchewan power bill here in this province, Mr. Speaker. But it's the quiet carbon tax that each and every one of us as Canadians and Canadian families pay when we go to the filling station, when we go to the grocery store, and everything that we buy, Mr. Speaker. So the plan that is very material to Saskatchewan families is to scrap the Liberal NDP carbon tax in this province, the visible one and the quiet one, Mr. Speaker. And I would ask the NDP why they haven't always supported that, Mr. Speaker, why it took Donald Trump getting elected in the USA for them to find their moral high ground to try to get a few votes in this province.
I recognize the Leader of the Opposition.
Their carbon tax, and this is why this budget is not worth the paper that it's written on. Mr. Speaker, it ignores what happened this week with Russian potash. It's silent on the realities that are already facing people in this province when it comes to tariffs. And now the Premier has blown a nearly $500 million hole in the budget by scrapping his carbon tax. Now, there are other ways that we can reduce emissions and we can drive innovation. But this Premier today owes the people of this province an answer before we vote off this budget. How big is the deficit now, Mr. Premier, that he's blown a $500 million hole in this budget?
I recognize the Premier.
What we see time and time again on the floor of this Assembly and the rotunda, Mr. Speaker's comments, is talk from the opposition versus action from the government.
Right. Here.
Mr. Speaker, on April 1st, it'll be 6 years since this carbon tax was imposed on Canadians, including those in Saskatchewan. There were 7 provinces. 7 provinces, Mr. Speaker, that opposed that, took it to the Supreme Court of Canada, and 1 opposition party, Mr. Speaker. Not this opposition party, of course. At that point in time, what they said about us taking that harmful tax on Saskatchewan residents to the Supreme Court of Canada was, that's a pointless crusade, Mr. Speaker. You should not be doing that because they support the carbon tax, and they still do today, and you can tell by their reactions, Mr. Speaker. You're either in or in the way when it comes to supporting Saskatchewan families and not paying the quiet carbon tax, Mr. Speaker, moving forward. And we would ask the federal leaders, all of them, Jagmeet Singh, Pierre Poilievre, and Mark Carney, to be very clear with Canadian and Saskatchewan families and voters on where are you when it comes to increasing the quiet carbon tax on Canadian families, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Saskatchewan people are worth a real answer, and Saskatchewan people deserve a real budget that addresses the real challenges that we're facing today. Not a make-believe fairy tale. Mr. Speaker, this budget has no contingency for tariffs and no plan for the future, and Saskatchewan people, frankly, deserve better. Why won't the Premier scrap his bogus budget today, and why won't he come back with some real answers and a real budget for the people of this province?
I recognize the Premier.
Saskatchewan got a budget, Mr. Speaker. It's a balanced budget, and we're going to get the opportunity to vote on it in a few minutes. What we have seen is talk from the members opposite, Mr. Speaker. They have been trying to...
Okay, I just would ask, it's last day of the week. Let's do our best to hear. We're going to do our best to ask questions, give answers, and listen very carefully. So I will expect, and I'm going to call it tight. So Premier, let's hear what you have to say.
Mr. Speaker, all week we've seen talk from opposition members in an attempt to shred the Saskatchewan budget, and all that has been shredded is the NDP credibility in this, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the NDP, Mr. Speaker, across this Canada have delivered budgets that are not balanced, Mr. Speaker. In fact, there is not one other balanced budget in the nation of Canada that has been introduced today, Mr. Speaker. We go to NDP British Columbia, Mr. Speaker, almost an $11 billion deficit, Mr. Speaker, versus a surplus in the province of Saskatchewan. We go to NDP Manitoba, Mr. Speaker, depending on which line item or budget you read, it's either $800 million or $1.8 billion, Mr. Speaker, compared to a balanced budget in Saskatchewan. That's a province that receives $4.7 billion in equalization versus zero in the province of Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. Saskatchewan people, Saskatchewan industries, Mr. Speaker, are looking forward to the future in what was a very challenging time. We're asking federal leaders to join with provincial leaders in providing hope and making life more affordable for Saskatchewan families. The NDP need to get on board.
I recognize the member from Regina South Alberta.
Why, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, for years, the Saskatchewan Party government has had their carbon tax cake while eating it too. They've complained about having their very own Sask Party carbon tax while they've poured Sask Party carbon tax dollars into their OBPS slush fund. And years ago, Mr. Speaker, we asked the government to put those dollars to work, building out renewable power, power bill relief, literally anything, Mr. Speaker. But meanwhile, they've sat on those dollars, hoarding them like Scrooge McDuck. So, Mr. Speaker, what is the Sask Party's plan for those carbon tax dollars they've taken from Saskatchewan people?
I recognize the Premier.
The reason there is even a carbon tax present in Saskatchewan, and we took it to the Supreme Court of Canada, is because of the Liberal and NDP governments in this nation, supported by the members opposite at the time, Mr. Speaker, where they called our court case a pointless crusade, Mr. Speaker. They called our court case a pointless crusade, Mr. Speaker, and very much were supportive of imposing these unnecessary inflationary costs on Saskatchewan families. With respect to the support that we put forward with IBEW, whether it be training programs, people that are working in the power generation industry in Saskatchewan, hard-working people in Estevan and Coronach and many other communities, Mr. Speaker. Just a few minutes ago, the International Vice President of IBEW, Russ Suchuk, said this, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, very pleased to applaud Premier Scott Moe's leadership in announcing that Saskatchewan is carbon tax-free. This will go... This will go a long way to help secure Saskatchewan's energy independence and expansion. Further, this will require increasing numbers of highly skilled tradespeople, and IBEW is proud of its partnership with Premier Moe to train more and more IBEW skilled workers. There is no doubt Premier Moe is building up of the province and supporting the families and communities of the great province of Saskatchewan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Regina South Alberta.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it truly is a great day in Saskatchewan. But, Mr. Speaker, those Sask Party carbon tax dollars have been paid by Saskatchewan people and Saskatchewan industry, and they deserve a real answer. They need to know what those dollars are going to be used for. The Sask Party government has shown through their actions, Mr. Speaker, that they can't manage their way out of a wet paper bag, and they sure as sin can't manage anything approaching a major project. Saskatchewan people have zero faith that these dollars won't be wasted and squandered on the next bypass or GTH. Everything this government touches has turned into a political fiasco. So again, Mr. Speaker, what are those Sask Party carbon tax dollars that the Sask Party government confiscated from the people of this province going to be used for?
I recognize the Premier.
Speaker, at the time that we took that court case to the Supreme Court of Canada, there were 7 provinces and 1 opposition party that supported and intervened in that case. Why did the NDP in Saskatchewan, an opposition at the party at the time, why did you not intervene in that case? Why did you call taking that case on behalf of Saskatchewan residents a pointless crusade? Why did you support that Liberal NDP carbon tax and continue to support it up until there's a new president and a reason to change your mind, Mr. Speaker? Why are you offside not only with the IEBW leadership and workers across this province? Why are you offside with SARM, with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, the Saskatchewan Realtors Association, the potash companies, the energy companies, Mr. Speaker? There's some serious reflection that needs to happen, Mr. Speaker, and the members opposite with the talk that they put out on the floor of this Assembly, Mr. Speaker. We're very confident in the actions of the Saskatchewan government on behalf of Saskatchewan families that are going to have a more affordable lifestyle, Mr. Speaker, because of the decisions that are being made here today.
I recognize the member from Regina South Alberta.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Maybe the Premier missed it while he was applauding himself. We think this is great news for Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker, but a question for that Premier. His Sask Party carbon tax dollars, that money, Mr. Speaker, gets washed through Sask Power in a grant for operations. If Sask Power isn't getting this government's clean electricity grant anymore, Mr. Speaker, the company is going to have to get those dollars from somewhere else. That's just a fact. And you know what they say, Mr. Speaker? There's only one taxpayer. So, Mr. Speaker, to this government, how many Sask Power rate hikes are going to be needed to make up for the lost Sask Party carbon tax revenue?
Before we hear the answer, I'm going to caution the member, talking about washing funds, slush funds, both sides. During one of the member statements saying that the NDP say this, they don't, support these people. We're going back and forth. There's good questions, good answers. We have students here listening today. How do we expect their classrooms will function when our people can't sit and hear? So I would ask, I'll give a little extra time to the NDP at the end if there's shortage, because I've spoken a little longer. But please, let's have questions and answers and keep your words very parliamentarian, I would request. Thanks. Premier. I recognize the Premier.
It's going to be difficult for some political parties to understand, Mr. Speaker, but when you regulate and tax an industry less, their cost of operation goes down. Thus, Saskatchewan families pay less for their power. Thus, Saskatchewan industries pay less for their power. Thus, we have the opportunity to project jobs that are here, Mr. Speaker, and we have the opportunity to attract additional investment that is going to create additional jobs, like the Cargill plant right here in Regina, Mr. Speaker, BHP, we have Foran Mining, we have Next Gen Energy, we have One Sky Forest Products, Mr. Speaker, all investing in the province because of the very solid regulatory environment we have. So the answer is less than they would with the carbon tax in place that's supported by NDP and Liberal governments, Mr. Speaker, and herein lies the difference between the parties on the floor of this Assembly, Mr. Speaker. We have action by the government, action being taken on every front to support the affordability matrix of families in this province and have a more affordable environment in a very uncertain time, versus talk from the members opposite, Mr. Speaker, which goes to the history of the NDP party, the NDP opposition party in Saskatchewan. First, when they look at an industry, Mr. Speaker, they find a way to regulate it, like the carbon tax. Then second, they find a way to tax it, like the 9% PST that we had in this province under the NDP. And when all of that fails, Mr. Speaker, and the industry survives and is still breathing, They nationalize it, Mr. Speaker. They've done it before. They mused about it this week. I think one of the members even said, with respect to nationalizing the potash industry in this province, it was the right thing to do, Mr. Speaker. They still believe that.
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Regina South Albert.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let's return to reality. We're talking about his government's carbon tax that he slapped people and industries in Saskatchewan with 2.5 years ago. And
That's
Mr.
right.
Speaker, the Premier might not like the question, but people deserve an answer. Affordability, cost of living, those are the major concerns for people here in the province. So again, Mr. Speaker, how much higher will Sask Power rates be in 2028 to make up for his Sask Party carbon tax lost revenue? Are they going to be 10% higher, 25% higher, 50% higher, Mr. Speaker? What's that number?
I recognize the Premier.
It would stand to reason, Mr. Speaker, and again, if your goal is to regulate it, tax it, nationalize it, you wouldn't understand this, Mr. Speaker. But when you tax and regulate an industry, at a lower rate, Mr. Speaker, their cost of business is less. So it would stand to reason that if you remove the carbon tax from the power generation industry, Saskatchewan families will pay less for their power rate, starting with 10% on April the 1st, Mr. Speaker. That's action taken by this government, Mr. Speaker. 10% lower power rates. What we are asking the federal leaders in the national election to do, whether it be NDP, Conservative or Liberal, is to be very clear with Canadians on what your plan is for the quiet carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. Be very clear on what your plan is for that quiet carbon tax. Will you allow provinces to regulate in this space? Will you set it to zero? Will you freeze it where it is, or will you increase it exponentially over time, Mr. Speaker? Because if you increase it exponentially over time, that 10% charge on power bills will go to 25 and 50, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are not in support of that. We want the federal leaders to be clear with Canadians and clear with Saskatchewan families, Mr. Speaker, and we want this ridiculous inflationary tax that's been supported time and time again by the members opposite on the floor of this Assembly gone.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Fairview.
Mr. Speaker, we've been very clear on this side of the House that we don't support the carbon tax just because they're not listening. Mr. Speaker, more than half of Saskatchewan's healthcare equipment and services are being sourced from companies based in the United States. Yes, the United States, where President Trump threatens daily to devastate our economy and threatens the very existence of our country. Why does the Minister of Health continue to bankroll American companies when this Sask Party government promised to buy Canadian?
I recognize the Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, let me be very clear that on this side of the House, our #1 priority of the Ministry of Health, and as well with the Saskatchewan Health Authority, is providing timely access for patients to the care when they need it and where they need it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, of course, we're taking this opportunity to review our procurement within 3S Health, as well with our national procurement organization, HealthPro. Where there's opportunities to move procurement to Canadian companies, we will absolutely look at that, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, let's bring this back to something that we've talked about on the floor a bunch this week: women's health, breast health. The mammography machines at the New Regina Breast Health Centre are manufactured by GE, an American company. Is that member opposite saying that we shouldn't buy that equipment to make sure that we can open up that breast health centre and provide that access to care for women in the southern half of the province, Mr. Speaker? We're not going to sacrifice patient care.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Fairview.
It's a ridiculous accusation from that minister, Mr. Speaker. Another round of tariffs has been promised by Trump on April 2nd, which he is calling Liberation Day, but it actually means more pain and suffering in Saskatchewan. We don't know what Trump will throw at us, and our reliance on American suppliers is frankly dangerous. Why is this minister risking supply chain disruptions for critical medical supplies?
I recognize the Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, this is another important example of how integrated supply chains are across the world. which is exactly why our Premier, why our ministers of Trade and Export Development and other ministers have been engaging with leaders in the United States of America as well as countries around the world, Mr. Speaker. We believe in a tariff-free environment, Mr. Speaker. We want to see these important goods flow back and forth across our borders. But, Mr. Speaker, let me be very clear again. We are not going to sacrifice patient care in this province. We're going to make sure that the mammography machines that are manufactured by an American company are here and ready to roll when that breast health centre opens up later in April. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon-Fairview.
Mr. Speaker, we're talking about nearly $123 million worth of critical medical supplies and healthcare services coming from the United States. And we are in a trade war with the United States that has been threatened for months, and now there's no end in sight. Why did the minister sit on his hands for months instead of taking action to protect Saskatchewan healthcare?
I recognize the Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to try and be very clear for the members opposite. What's in that nearly $123 million? Mr. Speaker, mammography machines. Important drugs that are part of the Saskatchewan formulary that Saskatchewan people depend on, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this government is not going to put politics ahead of people and the patient care in this province, Mr. Speaker, like the members opposite. We are going to look at our procurement options, absolutely, Mr. Speaker, but our priority is patient care.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. I don't think that we're being fair with either side. We're putting words in one another's mouths that really aren't there, and so I'd ask the member to be cautious in our responses and cautious in our questions, please. I recognize the member from Regina University.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On one hand, we've got Chinese tariffs on canola, Putin's products flooding world markets while he continues to kill Ukrainians, and an impending Liberation Day in the U.S. on Tuesday, which means more tariffs and more pain here in Saskatchewan. And then we've got the Sask Party budget that isn't worth the paper it's written on. It must be a record, even for this government, that their already problematic projections didn't even last a week. No plan for tariffs, no plan for jobs, no plan, period. Will someone and anyone on that side of the House stand up and explain to the people of Saskatchewan how they got it so wrong at such a critical time?
I recognize the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, we're living in uncertain geopolitical times, Mr. Speaker, but we have tabled in this House, and we will vote on it later today, likely the only balanced budget in the country. Mr. Speaker, the challenges that the member opposite is referring to, the best way to meet those challenges is from a position of fiscal strength, Mr. Speaker, and that's what we're doing. The members opposite have been claiming they've been asking for affordability measures, Mr. Speaker. They've been asking for support for industry in the face of all these tariffs, Mr. Speaker. That's what the announcement on carbon tax did today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Regina University.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For months, this Premier refused to speak out against Donald Trump while he threatened our country's very existence. He told reporters over and over again that we can't take Trump's threats literally. Well, the news flash for the Premier is Donald Trump literally has a job-killing tariff on Saskatchewan steel right now. Donald Trump is literally threatening more tariffs next week, and Donald Trump has literally cut a deal with the murderer of Vladimir Putin that could cause major harm to our economy. Given all this, will the Premier stand now and apologize to the people of Saskatchewan for sitting on his hands while Donald Trump did everything he could to ruin our economy, literally?
I recognize the Minister of Trade and Export.
Mr. Speaker, we're extremely disappointed, actually quite disturbed by the comments of the U.S. administration. You know, these tariffs, the actions that the U.S. has done to support Russia's, I guess, entrance back into the world market for ag products, fertilizer exports, these are certainly concerns to us as government. These are the reasons why that our Premier continues to engage at that national and international level with the U.S. government. certainly with major players in the U.S. government. These are the reasons why we continue to need to engage at this level. All members of this caucus, of this government, are going to be engaging on a regular basis with the U.S. government to ensure that the needs, the wants, the desires of our stakeholders here in Saskatchewan are understood by the U.S. administration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Saskatoon Westview.
Mr. Speaker, there is ruin at home. In Saskatoon, nearly 500 people have overdosed on toxic drugs in March, and the month isn't even up yet. Already we've lost 9 lives just in my city, just this month. When we asked yesterday, the minister said, and I quote, "We will continue to do that work," end quote. That work has cost 9 people their lives this month, just in Saskatoon. Will the minister admit she needs to do more to stop overdoses in this province?
Here. I recognize the Minister of Remote and Rural Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, any death from an overdose is a tragedy, and we recognize that, and we do recognize what is happening in the community of Saskatoon. As I spoke to yesterday, we have been working with the City of Saskatoon, the first responder, various community-based organizations. We have set up a provincial emergency operations centre, Mr. Speaker, but the root of the problem here really is the drugs that are out there on the streets, Mr. Speaker. And I would ask the members opposite, the MLA for Saskatoon-Nutana has said that illicit drugs are necessary to legalize, pointing to British Columbia as an example we should follow. She said that here in this House. Those are her words, Mr. Speaker. British Columbia has since backtracked and decriminalized the decriminalization because it has only made the illicit drug use worse. Does the NDP believe that decriminalizing illicit drugs and unleashing that crime will be good for the City of Saskatoon?
To be clear on the extra time that I had mentioned to add on, I was if we would have ended a question at a period of 10 seconds, I would have added, but because I spoke for about 30 seconds, so that'll be the end of the question period, but thank you. On to ministerial statements. Why is the member on her feet?
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
What's the point of order?
Mr. Speaker, during question period, the member from Regina South Albert said that the government confiscated money from the people of Saskatchewan. Mr. Speaker, the intent of her words are very clear and unparliamentary. I would ask that the member opposite withdraw and apologize.
Recognize the opposition House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I could point to about a dozen moments in this past session where, or just today actually, where members opposite were speaking with unparliamentary language. I'd go first to the member from Quinora-Pelly's member statement and then the plethora of quite ridiculous answers received throughout question period, Mr. Speaker. I think it's almost a bit of an even playing field at this point, and I'd ask that you find that that point of order is not well taken.
Well, I must say that I don't know what the rules are in this case. I've allowed unparliamentary language from both sides today, and I thought through not asking for apologies that we would clean up our language, but I can see that I'm going to have to be more firm and ask for apologies from both sides. And I'm sorry that I didn't call it tighter today. I wished I could have gone back at times. I agree with both sides' statements. I'm thinking that there's very important work to do in this province for the people that we serve. And to keep our language parliamentarian is not too difficult. So I'm going to ask both sides, just in general, to be humble and to realize that we can all do better. And if there are any serious accusations from one side to the other, I would hear them now. But if nothing more serious than the back and forth that happened today in front of all of our students I would just ask that we move on. But are we okay with that, or are there more accusations to bring up? Are we okay? Ministerial statements. I recognize the Minister of CIC.
Hear, hear.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Today, I am proud to announce to the House that Saskatchewan is now the very first carbon tax-free province in the entire country. April the 1st will be Carbon Tax Freedom Day here in Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. Our fight, and even more specifically our Premier's fight, against this punitive and useless tax has been consistent, has been relentless, and has been principled. From day one, we have stood in opposition to this tax. In fact, we stood completely alone, Mr. Speaker. We were subject to vicious criticism from the federal Liberal government, from the Saskatchewan NDP. We were accused of fighting a pointless crusade by the members opposite and told we should just do what Justin Trudeau told us to do, Mr. Speaker. Well, as it turns out, we were right.
Hear, hear.
This was not a pointless crusade, but a principled fight this government took on to protect Saskatchewan families and industries. And our stakeholders are weighing in, Mr. Speaker. I'll hopefully have some time at the end to go through some of the quotes. Premier referenced one from the IVP, the International Vice President of IBEW, for example, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Russ Shuchuk, who applauded Premier, quoting, Premier Scott Moe's leadership in announcing that Saskatchewan is carbon tax-free. There were many, many others from the Saskatchewan Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Speaker, from the Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities, from the Mosaic Company, from Evraz, Mr. Speaker, who are going to save millions of dollars and have hundreds of employees' jobs more stable because of it. From the Saskatchewan Realtors Association and a number more. We have been admitted to be right by all the players now at the federal level on the consumer carbon tax, with even the opposition across the way now adopting our position in the last couple of weeks. But there is one more element of this insidious federal tax that needs to be eliminated as well, namely the industrial carbon price, the shadow carbon tax that Canadians continue to pay. And I want to be very clear about why the output-based performance standard was enacted in the first place, and you'll hear something different from the members opposite, but this is the fact, Mr. Speaker. This was directly imposed on the province of Saskatchewan by the Liberal NDP coalition government. The choice was whether they took the money and spent it in other parts of the country, or whether that money stayed here at home such that it could be used for the Saskatchewan publics. We, I think very responsibly, chose to keep it here while making crystal clear we had absolutely no support. We absolutely did not support the policy, including taking that fight all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada, for which we were viciously criticized by those across the way. The OBPS was designed to align with federal emission standards and carbon pricing, but make no mistake, we have been clear since day one, the Liberal carbon tax, whether on industry or consumers, was never an environmental policy. It was always a taxation policy. We are currently in the midst of a federal election now where the two major federal party leaders have announced their plans to remove the consumer carbon tax, and good on them. One of those parties, the Liberals, believe so strongly in their carbon tax they actually fought us in court to keep it, the aforementioned Supreme Court fight. They've now caved because Canadians know what we were first to say, and the Premier was first to say, that this was a bad tax that would have enormously detrimental implications for taxpayers and our economy, and we were right. The two leading parties now need to go further and remove the industrial carbon tax, the shadow carbon tax, remove the carbon tax from everything for everyone. The Liberal leader insists Canada requires an industrial carbon tax in order to have trade with other countries. This is utter nonsense. We are a trade-exposed, export-based economy. We compete every day with countries that have no carbon tax. Our largest trading partner has no carbon tax. Removing the industrial carbon tax would increase our ability to compete and trade, not reduce it. Just ask Evraz. In this new tariff environment, it is our duty to ensure our industries are more competitive. This is why we're taking action. On April 1st, we will be removing the carbon tax from your SaskPower bills. The results will be hundreds of dollars of savings for individuals, for businesses, for households, for companies. This, Mr. Speaker, is leadership. This is something we are very proud of. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Regina South Alberta.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to begin by thanking the minister opposite for providing a copy of his remarks in advance. I said it today in question period, Mr. Speaker. This truly is a great day for Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. And I will maybe say one thing in recognition of some of your comments, Mr. Speaker. It's one thing to campaign by wedge. It's another thing to govern by wedge in this province, and this is something that we in fact agree on in this House, and I think it should be celebrated because it truly is great news for Saskatchewan. People in this province, they truly hate two things, two unifying things. They hate hypocrisy, they hate that carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. And this carbon tax that we're talking about removing today, the OBPS, Output-Based Performance System, is a carbon tax that this government has had in place since, I believe, November 2022. And now we've heard as of April 1st it will be gone. And we hope it'll be gone for everybody in Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker, unlike the carbon tax, the home heating carbon tax, which I would like to point out still does impact a number of residents here in Saskatchewan, specifically individuals who live in condominiums and those in Lloydminster. You know, Mr. Speaker, the minister spoke about removing the carbon tax from SaskPower bills, which is great news. I know as SaskPower critic, I've gotten a lot of emails to my office, people confused why it says federal carbon tax on their SaskPower bills, as anyone who's paid a power bill would have seen. But we know today, and we've heard confirmation that the Sask Party's OBPS, that carbon tax is going to be taken off power bills after 2.5 years, which is great news, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition has been calling for recognition of the economic headwinds that we've been facing with the promise of tariffs on Canada, and even today I saw President Trump was out promising even greater tariffs on Canada should we dare talk to the Europeans and look at diversifying our markets or strengthening those relationships. Mr. Speaker, Saskatchewan's economy needs to be firing on all cylinders. So we celebrate this announcement, Mr. Speaker, although it's been pointed out we do question the timing of it. The budget itself lists February 19th, 2025 as the date for this finance minister's tariff analysis. So I assume, Mr. Speaker, that was the last possible date, to the minister's credit, that they could have done that tariff analysis and still put the budget to bed and gotten it to the printers and out to the people of Saskatchewan. So we can assume, Mr. Speaker, that at some point between February 19th, 2025 and yesterday, this decision was made, perhaps as the federal election sands have continued to shift. But this welcome decision was clearly made relatively quickly because it's not reflected in the budget. And I think that is a fair question, Mr. Speaker. This is a government that's taken in over $1 billion in OBPS revenue since 2022. And in this year's budget, in black and white on page 83, there's $431.5 million of OBPS revenue booked. With this very welcome decision, it has undermined the foundation of this government's budget, nearly a $500 million deficit, 36 times greater a deficit than that $12 million surplus that was promised just today in this chamber. You know, Mr. Speaker, we spoke a little bit about the potential impact on SaskPower. I'd just like to point out for members opposite in SaskPower's Q3 2025 report, it forecasts a net income of $126 million in that clean electricity grant. It's forecasted $140 million, so there is going to be some revenue to make up for SaskPower. In the absence of these revenues, it is likely that SaskPower will be running a loss and multiple-year rate increases may be required to restore its financial health. There's going to be a significant revenue challenge for this government to address, $500 million in their own budget that they'll be seeking to move in a few short moments, potentially tens of millions of dollars more for a crown jewel for SaskPower. but for industry workers, families, farms, small businesses, an economy firing on all cylinders. That is the goal. That is something we should agree on in this House as we face the headwinds and the threats of an unstable American government and a rapidly changing economic and geopolitical landscape. Mr. Speaker, words do matter in this House. Integrity matters, and in politics, timing can be everything. Thank you.
Introduction of bills.
Item number 1, Minister Carr.
I recognize the Minister of Trade and Export.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Bill number 20, the Small and Medium Enterprise Investment Tax Credit Act, be now introduced and read a first time.
It's been moved by the Minister of Trade and Export that Bill number 20, the Small and Medium Enterprise SME Investment Tax Credit Act, be now introduced and read a first time. Is it the pleasure of the Assembly to adopt the motion? Carried.
First reading of this bill.
When shall the bill be read a second time? I recognize the Minister of Trade and Export.
Next sitting of this Assembly.
Next sitting. Presenting reports by Standing and Special Committee. Orders of the day.
Special Order Day 5, resume debate on the proposed motion by Minister Ryder, seconded by MLA Kratzweller, and the proposed amendment moved by MLA Weatherspoon and seconded by MLA Young, Regina South Albert.
I recognize the member from Regina Walsh Acres.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to share with you that I will not be supporting the government's budget today, but rather the amendment proposed by the member from Regina Mount Royal. Thank you.
I recognize the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it is an honor to rise in the Assembly today and enter some remarks in the record ahead of the budget vote later this morning. Let's first acknowledge that while many of us have delivered budget responses before in this House, this is a time like none of us in this Assembly have faced before. And our focus and this budget should reflect that reality. Now, whether it's the unprovoked and escalating trade war with our neighbours to the south, tariffs on canola and steel, the fact that Donald Trump is siding with Vladimir Putin and offering to help Russian agricultural products and potash to world markets, and thus helping fund Putin's illegal invasion and occupation of Ukraine while Ukrainians continue to be killed. Not to mention that we're in the middle of a federal election. Let's remember, amidst all of that, the privilege and responsibility that we all have, all members have, to ensure that this budget actually delivers a plan that meets the challenges of the time we face, for the benefit of the incredible people and province that we all serve, today and into the future. And let's also remember that this budget comes at a time when people in this province already face a crumbling healthcare system, the burnout and exodus of valuable healthcare workers, a decade-long gutting and underfunding of our schools, rising crime rates, and an out-of-control mental health and addictions crisis that has been left to spiral out of control for over a decade, while we lose people every day to this crisis. And that after years of mismanagement and waste, this budget delivers debt servicing costs tipping over the $1 billion mark, Mr. Speaker, and rising. So while members opposite will take a victory lap and proudly spout their talking points in their responses, please understand that after 17 years of this Sask Party government, this is also what you have delivered to the people of this province. And Mr. Speaker, speaking of responses, I will admit that I have thought about calling out some of the less than thoughtful comments by members opposite in their budget responses. But Hansard keeps impeccable records of everything that is said in this Assembly. And the fact that years from now, when people look back on how members of this Assembly responded to this moment, what they chose to focus on in their response, perhaps someone who's looking to glean some wisdom for how to guide them through troubled times that may come ahead of us. They will see how those members chose to respond. Mr. Speaker, I'm a fan of natural consequences. Now, as for members on this side of the House, we understand the stakes. We take these threats literally, and we take them seriously. And these hardworking, thoughtful, dedicated members understand the gravity of this moment. They sure know what side they're on and who they work for, Mr. Speaker. You heard it in their responses. We proudly serve as the official opposition, and I am proud to serve alongside each and every one of these members. And like it or not, Mr. Speaker, we have an important role to play in scrutinizing and questioning the decisions made by this government and bringing the concerns of Saskatchewan people to this Assembly. And members opposite better believe that we will not shy away from holding this government accountable, even if you find it hard to hear. Right. That is our job, and it is not our job to make you feel comfortable. That is how our system of government works. Mr. Speaker, I understand that not everyone will watch today's proceedings or the budget responses, and not everyone, although they should, will read Hansard or watch the news coverage. And as surprising as it may be to some of us here, many in this province don't even know that we're sitting right now. But none of that is to say that what we do and say here doesn't matter, because it does. Our democracy matters, now more than ever. And what we do or fail to do in this Assembly, the decisions made or the problems ignored, will impact every person in this province, those who call the province home today and into the future. That's right. Now, Mr. Speaker, I can empathize that budgets are not easy to put together, even in the best of times. And I do appreciate, sincerely, that this year, putting that budget together had to be especially difficult. At a time when national policy can turn on a tweet, when chaos reigns, it's difficult to predict. But it is precisely when times are tough, when people and entire communities and industries are facing potentially devastating consequences, it is precisely, Mr. Speaker, in those times that people need to know that there is a clear plan. I can also appreciate that every premier, every government, every finance minister will put their best foot forward when they put their budget out. But the budget cannot simply be a communications exercise. Sure. A budget worth the paper that it's written on has to be rooted in reality. It must allow the public the opportunity to review the performance of the government and evaluate their plan for the future. And Mr. Speaker, that is where this budget fails, and it fails miserably. It fails to plan for the future, and it ignores the realities of today. Now, for a minute, let's all set aside everything that is going on outside of our borders. Let's look at healthcare in this province. We have an aging and growing population. We need to staff up and retain and support those valuable healthcare workers. We have to turn things around if people are going to get the care that they need. It won't be easy. I understand that. But it won't happen without actually listening to the local voices and the frontline folks who do have solutions, if only they had a government that would listen to them. And let's look at education. Again, we have more children in our schools, a system that has faltered after a decade of underfunding and cuts by that government, despite the hard work of the dedicated people who work with our kids every day. We all know stories after stories that we've heard them here. We've received the letters. I know you have as well, about the impact that these cuts are having on our kids. Mr. Speaker, on those 2 points alone, nothing would lead a reasonable person to believe that the costs and demands in the healthcare and education system in this province are going to decrease this year, especially if we take that government at their word that they have heard the people of this province, that they need to change and invest and improve these two critical services in this province. Yet on page 27 of their budget, Mr. Speaker, the amount that the government paid in the last fiscal year for education and healthcare is less than what they planned to spend this year. That is a cut. They have delivered cuts, and they have failed to plan. But, Mr. Speaker, it's not just this year that they failed to plan. For years, they failed to secure a cost-shared business risk management program to support our world-leading livestock producers in this province and ranchers. At a time when families in this province are already struggling, they failed to sign on to the renewal of the childcare agreement. And while they claim to be surprised by calls to improve the agri-stability program, let's remember that those Chinese tariffs were threatened last year in August. Mr. Speaker, while a few letters and pronouns had us back in a flash into this Assembly for an emergency session, this government, at this time, waited until the last possible moment to call us back, so we had the minimum amount of time to scrutinize their budget, at a time when Saskatchewan people are looking for answers. Mr. Speaker, we all hope for the best, but we also have a responsibility to plan for the worst, or at least the reasonably foreseeable impacts that these tariffs will have on this province. Already, these are not hypotheticals. They're having real impact on people, jobs, industries here in this province. More to come, depending on how long they last. Mr. Speaker, that's why governments in BC and Alberta and Manitoba have all delivered budgets with a contingency built in. This is not a time for ambiguous loyalties. This is a time for clarity, Mr. Speaker, and for courage. And let me say, while I'm at it, that I do believe that you can be both angry and smart. And I know this for a fact, Mr. Speaker. If you are not angry, you are not paying attention. But I will concede that anger alone isn't enough. Let's let that anger fuel us to take on the challenges of building for the future prosperity of this province and this country. Let's use this moment to dream big and to get it done. But also let hope and pride fuel us as well. And I do take an incredible amount of hope and pride in watching the response that we have seen from people across this province. Now, as has been mentioned by my colleague from Cumberland, yesterday many of us had the opportunity to meet with leaders of Yeth and Nene Lands and Resources, and it really was good to have the opportunity to laugh and enjoy each other's company. But there was also an important message yesterday from those leaders who traveled so far to meet with us. Mary Denuchese, Elder and YNLR board member and chair, started her remarks by saying this, and I quote, "We are not opposed to development." She repeated it. And then she spoke about the need for balance, that along with development, they knew they also had a responsibility as leaders to protect a way of life, to ensure safe and sustainable communities, jobs, and the services that people in their communities relied on, for the people they served, to look to the future. They want to see development, but they also want to share in the benefits of that development, Mr. Speaker, today and into the future. It's not either or, it's both. These are leaders that are grounded in the reality and focused on the future. And I want to sincerely thank those leaders for bringing that message to us. It's an important time for that message. But we've faced difficult times before, Mr. Speaker, and I did hear recently in this Assembly one of the members opposite talk about the interprovincial pipeline, now Enbridge Line 5, noting the remarkable pace at which it was built. Saskatchewan's premier at the time, one T.C. Douglas, called the project timeline, quote, "a modern miracle," noting that until it was actually built, anyone suggesting that it could be done in that timeline would have been called a dreamer. Maybe that story surprises folks, maybe not, but it shouldn't, because this province has a proud history. We have abundant resources, hardworking people who care about their neighbours and their community. And we have a proud history of innovation and excellence on so many fronts, Mr. Speaker. We are proud of what we produce and how we produce it. Saskatchewan is filled with practical people who don't go looking for fights, but they sure don't back away from fights when they're brought to them either. And when we have dug in across partisan and provincial lines, especially when we are tested like we're being tested right now, leaders in this province and this country have been able to look ahead, build for the future, Mr. Speaker, get it done. And that brings me to the vote today. Mr. Speaker, this is no time for a budget that fails to plan for the future, let alone one that ignores the realities that we face today. And Mr. Speaker, simply put, this budget is not worth the paper that it's written on. And that was the case before they blew a $500 million hole in it. So let's give up the charade. Serious times call for serious debate, serious plans, and a serious budget. And this budget fails to deliver on all fronts. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I will be voting against the budget, and I will be voting for the amendment put forth by the member for Mount Royal. Thank you.
I recognize the Premier.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I just say more formally thank you to all the members for, on both sides of the House, for the replies that they provided on behalf of their constituents to the budget that was introduced in this House last week and will be voted on here very shortly, as soon as I take my seat. And there's one more speaker between us and that vote, Mr. Speaker. He's a fairly long-winded fellow, but it's important words that come out of his mouth. Mr. Speaker, but very seriously, I do want to thank everyone for their comments. And you are making those comments on behalf of the people that put you in this chair, your constituents in your the region of the province where you live, Mr. Speaker. And I listened to most, if not virtually all, of the replies. They're very, very well done. And I think we collectively, as Saskatchewan residents, Mr. Speaker, not speaking as an elected member, but as Saskatchewan residents, can be very proud of the comments that were put on the record here with respect to this balanced budget that was introduced by the Minister of Finance last week, Mr. Speaker. So thank you to everyone. Also thank you to all of those that help me each and every day, whether it be in our constituency office in Shelburne, whether it be in our office here in Regina, or to all of those across the public service. I have the opportunity, and I won't compare, Mr. Speaker, but I do have the opportunity to see a number of various public services, not just across Canada, but across North America. And as I had just stated on the elected member side, Saskatchewans can be equally as proud of the public service that serves them, whether it be in the Crowns, whether it be in the ministries, whether it be in our healthcare system or the various agencies across, Mr. Speaker. There is some incredibly talented, innovative, intelligent, hardworking, and committed people that are offering that very important public service across government, across all of the agencies, Mr. Speaker, and we can be proud of that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, delivering for you was the theme of the budget this year. And when you look at all that has happened over the course of the last year, Mr. Speaker, with a provincial election now into a federal election, when you see what is happening with our relationship with trade partners, which to some degree is, yes, the result of an election that has happened in the United States of America, but I would say it's also as a result of our relationship. Anytime there's a trade relationship, Mr. Speaker, I think it's a relationship that is important and needs to be prioritized. And maybe we in Canada just need to have a look in the mirror with respect to the efforts that we have given that relationship globally and how we are presenting ourselves as Canadians. And I'm speaking very specifically with respect to the Canadian government the last 10 years, Mr. Speaker, as to the priority that we are giving to engage globally to ensure that we have a strong opportunity, a strong economy, and opportunities for people, Canadians that work here today and Canadians that will work here tomorrow. And we find ourselves in a very perplexing and challenging situation, whether it be the relationship with China. We've seen trade challenges with India, Mr. Speaker. We're seeing very significant challenges with the United States of America. And I'll get into all of that in just a couple of minutes. But I wanted to make some direct comments with respect to the budget, Mr. Speaker, not only the fact that it is a balanced budget, Mr. Speaker, but what it actually delivers for Saskatchewan families and Saskatchewan people, given the entirety of the conversation over the last number of months, not just the last number of weeks, because they're a little bit different, but they're very much related, Mr. Speaker, and we've heard very clearly, whether it be in the provincial election or in the weeks leading up to or the weeks after. And I think you saw some of that ability for the government to listen in what was delivered in the speech from the throne and how it was, in many ways, not different, but it added to what we campaigned on in that most recent provincial campaign, Mr. Speaker, last fall, which was affordability. And Mr. Speaker, we had numerous affordability measures that have been well discussed on the floor of this Assembly over the last week. Mr. Speaker, affordability measures that make, and first of all, ensure that Saskatchewan continues to be the most affordable place in Canada to live, but they make life more affordable for seniors, for homeowners, for students, for families, Mr. Speaker, and make life more affordable for virtually everyone that lives in this province. And that's something I think that we can be very proud of, again, collectively as Saskatchewan residents, is that we are using the strength of our economy to ensure that Saskatchewan remains the most affordable place in Canada. Are we experiencing increases, inflationary increases? Yes. We'll talk about some opportunities that we have as Canadians to lower those in a few minutes. But the fact is that Saskatchewan remains and will remain the most affordable place for families to live and to raise their family so that maybe their children can stay here. And the good news is, it's also a significant difference between what happened in Saskatchewan post-election versus some other areas of Canada, given some of what has happened the last number of weeks. Proud to say that this budget, not only being a balanced budget, not only delivering on the priorities of Saskatchewan people, but is keeping each and every campaign commitment that we made in that election, Mr. Speaker. We did not walk back from a 1.
Hear, hear.
That's not the case, Mr. Speaker. Most notably with NDP governments that won elections in other provinces, they have many have used this current tariff-rich environment, tariff-filled environment, to walk back from some of the commitments or delay some of the commitments that they made in their campaign. And that's something I think that this party has always kept front and foremost, Mr. Speaker. Is if we make a commitment, we're going to keep that commitment, and that's exactly what this government. We also learned and listened, Mr. Speaker, and we continue to learn and listen as individuals in our files, Mr. Speaker, and it's part more broadly of what is now over a decade and a half serving government here in Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker, and we're honoured to do so again for another 4 years. What we heard during the campaign, what we listened to from Saskatchewan families is we need to do better when it comes to health care in this province. And so we have approached this with a renewed vision, Mr. Speaker, and really approached this as somewhat of a new mandate, Mr. Speaker, after a decade and a half of forming government, to really take the shackles off and, Mr. Speaker, look at how we are delivering health care differently with really number of priorities, but 2 significant priorities that we're focusing in on, Mr. Speaker. First is access to a health care provider. Saskatchewan people want to have access to a health care provider, Mr. Speaker, wherever they may live, and to the provider that they may need, which may not always be a physician. We see the good work nurse practitioners are doing, Mr. Speaker. We see the good work that so many other healthcare providers are able to do in communities, not just rural and remote, Mr. Speaker, but even in our urban centres. And you're seeing that most notably with a different level or different model of providing urgent care service right here in Saskatchewan to Regina families, Mr. Speaker, one that will be expanded on in this funding provided in this budget with another urgent care centre in Regina, 2 in Saskatoon, 1 in Prince Albert, Moose Jaw and North Battleford, Mr. Speaker. A different way of looking at how we deliver care, but broadening the opportunity for Saskatchewan people to have access to a health care provider, which is what we heard, Mr. Speaker, and continue to hear today. That being said, we are, as the CIHI data says, we're about 84% of Saskatchewan people do have access to a health care provider. But we can do better. We can do better. And we're using the strength of the Saskatchewan economy to deliver better on behalf of the people that we represent as their provincial government here in this province, Mr. Speaker. We also heard about access to surgeries, Mr. Speaker, diagnostic surgeries, Mr. Speaker. People need to have access to a surgery, whatever it might be, in as timely a manner as possible. And we're committed to doing that. And we're using all the tools available to us to advance that and to lower the wait list that we have with respect to surgeries in this province, Mr. Speaker. That, at times, is, yes, doing publicly funded surgeries in private clinics. An initiative that is expanding the number of surgeries that are available, Mr. Speaker, to Saskatchewan people, accelerating their opportunity to get a surgery, Mr. Speaker, and an initiative that is, again, a different opinion across the floor of this legislature, an initiative that is not supported by the members opposite. The same goes when it comes to diagnostics, Mr. Speaker. We are investing heavily, not only in public surgeries as well, but public diagnostics, as well as accessing publicly funded private diagnostics wherever we can to increase the capacity so that Saskatchewan people can get diagnostics sooner rather than later, Mr. Speaker, so that they can get in the queue for, if they require, a surgery sooner rather than later, Mr. Speaker. And there has been significant investment discussed on the floor of this legislature about us procuring diagnostics mammographies in Calgary, Mr. Speaker, and refunding the costs to arrive there and receive that service, Mr. Speaker. All the while, the very public and significant investment in capacity is happening right here in Regina, Mr. Speaker, with the Regina Breast Health Centre, Mr. Speaker, which will mirror what is happening in Saskatoon, Mr. Speaker, of which our family, not myself, but our family, does have some experience with utilizing, Mr. Speaker, and I can say that the care is superb. And the people delivering that care, I thank them very much for what they do each and every day, Mr. Speaker, and we need that added capacity here in Regina, and it's on its way, Mr. Speaker, but we will never apologize for using every tool that is available to us and investing and using the strength of the Saskatchewan economy to invest in delivering those services, and this budget does just that, delivering those services to Saskatchewan people, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to do more, not less in the future. with respect, it came to the floor of the legislature today, Mr. Speaker, and this is why you've seen a balanced approach, and one of the reasons why you've seen a balanced approach with how we are approaching the conversation with the American administration. This is our largest trading partner. 55% of our exports, 80% of our imports come from the U.S. One of those imports is a mammography machine, Mr. Speaker, for that Regina Breast Health Centre. There aren't a lot of options. It's already on order, Mr. Speaker. Traditionally, we are a large trading partner and have traditionally been an ally with the United States of America. Mr. Speaker, we have advised, as we were asked, as we aligned with other provinces, and this was through much discussion on Council of Federation calls and First Minister calls, on how do we have an impact on to ensure that the U.S. administration understands that we as provinces are serious and do not in any way agree with the stance that the President is taking when he's imposing tariffs on that large trading relationship that we have. So ensure that we are making an impact, but not a negative impact on Saskatchewan families, and certainly not a negative impact on the health care that is delivered to those Saskatchewan families, Mr. Speaker. And so we've talked a little bit, and I think I heard it in the Leader of the Opposition's speech, and I've said many times, it was John Christian that says you can't be smart and angry at the same time. Mr. Speaker, we need to be smart. We need to be smart in how we deliver health care and where we're procuring the products that are being used in delivering health care and advancing and enhancing and adding capacity to our health care, most notably here in Regina with that Regina Breast Health Centre, Mr. Speaker. But we also need to be smart with all of the other decisions that we're making, policy-based decisions, Mr. Speaker, so that we have the economy in this province to be able to make those investments in the first place. Mr. Speaker, that comes down to regulation policy decisions, taxation policy decisions, Mr. Speaker, and more broadly, how we are valuing that trade relationship and making sure the relationship is strong so that the trade can happen. Mr. Speaker, this budget also delivers with respect to education, specifically focusing in on that K-3 space. New schools, yes. A number of portables, yes, Mr. Speaker, but narrowing in on that K-3 education space, Mr. Speaker, and in particular, the outcomes. The outcomes of a student when they hit grade 3. And I think you will find no argument, Mr. Speaker, whether it's a parent, whether it's sector professionals, whether it's a teacher, whoever it might be, Mr. Speaker, I don't think you'll find any arguments that if a student is able to read, write, and add at a grade 3 level when they complete grade 3, that all that is attainable and possible for that child or that student from grades 4 through 12 just improved a whole bunch. Mr. Speaker, all that individual, as they move to adulthood, can attain and aspire to in life becomes so much more possible, Mr. Speaker. You need to learn to read so that you can read to learn. Is a phrase that we've been throwing around the office, Mr. Speaker. We need to ensure that's the case. And so you're going to see the expansion of the specialized support classrooms. You're going to see the expansion of investment in that K-3 space, the investment not only in teachers but in the support workers and everything to ensure that our students have every opportunity to be successful and to be at grade level when they achieve grade 3. And yes, you're going to see the implementation of assessment, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that that is the case so that we can measure, Mr. Speaker, the outcomes. We can report back to parents, Mr. Speaker, so that teachers have the ability to look at those outcomes and improve, Mr. Speaker, over the years, the outcomes that we have more generally as a student population. And we should never forget, Mr. Speaker, whether it's in healthcare or education, that these are our family members that are using these services. In the cases of our classrooms, Mr. Speaker, we call them students. Close to 200,000 students in the province, but they are our children and they are our grandchildren, and they deserve every investment, and that investment is being delivered in this budget, Mr. Speaker. Last but not least, for priorities, and there's many, but I wanted to cover 4, Mr. Speaker: the affordability, health care, in particular access to surgeries and health care providers, and then, Mr. Speaker, 3 would be education, and in particular that K-3 space. Last is equally important, Mr. Speaker, and it's ensuring the safety in our communities for our families. Families have a right to be able to go out after supper, maybe go to the park for a walk with their children, Mr. Speaker, and feel safe. And I don't know that that's the case in every community across this province today. And there's really one reason behind it. And it's the poisonous drugs that have infiltrated our communities, have infiltrated our province and our nation, and our continent and the world, Mr. Speaker, and they need to go. And that's why you will see a very strong stance with respect to this government on very focused stance on eradicating fentanyl and crystal meth from Saskatchewan communities and eradicating those poisonous toxic substances from the hands of people that are ultimately making them available to our relatives, to our friends, to our children, Mr. Speaker. There can be no other approach that will be effective outside of removing these drugs from our communities, from our province, and ultimately from our nation. It needs to happen.
Hear, hear.
We need to provide, alongside that concerted effort of 500 more police officers, Mr. Speaker, increasing the consequences for people that are making this poison available in our communities. We need to offer every recovery opportunity that we can. And you're seeing that happen alongside, Mr. Speaker, with the investment in 500 recovery beds in this province so that family members, friends, Mr. Speaker, that unfortunately may have fell into a life of addictions have an opportunity, Mr. Speaker. And there's many stories that we could share, Mr. Speaker, in this space. As I think in the same way that unfortunately we see diseases like cancer impact virtually every family, I think the same can be said about mental health and all too often subsequent addictions, Mr. Speaker, having an impact on friends and family members of likely most, if not all, on the floor of this Assembly, and the same can be said for the people that we know in our communities. But I want to share one. I've shared it before, Mr. Speaker, and it has to do with the supports, not just around recovery beds, but the supports in accessing those recovery beds, Mr. Speaker. The Urgent Care Centre on North Albert Street is one example of that, but another is the complex needs shelters, the pilot program of the 15 beds, both in Saskatoon and Regina, Mr. Speaker. And those individuals that are coming into those shelters are, they're not really a shelter, Mr. Speaker. They're coming in under arrest, because they are in danger of harming themselves or someone else. Mr. Speaker, often, not always, but often, it is a result of ingesting some of these poisonous drugs that are available in our communities. Mr. Speaker, in those shelters are, yes, security services, Mr. Speaker, but there's also healthcare services to ensure that they have every opportunity to survive if they are in an overdose situation or what that might be. And third, Mr. Speaker, there are also referral services to the addiction supports that we have in our community, the entirety of addiction supports that we have in our community, and the one that we try and hope to point everyone towards, whether it's through their own opportunity and their own choice or through pushing them along through enforcement, Mr. Speaker, is a recovery bed, a provincial recovery bed, and we're committed to building enough of those beds so that people do have access to them. Here's the moral of this story, Mr. Speaker. When we had put those in place, I wasn't sure. There's three ways to exit that facility. The first, Mr. Speaker, is you have a family member that comes and picks you up. The second is you're released by the same police force that brought you there, Mr. Speaker, 24 hours later. The third is you self-refer to some type of addiction services that are offered in the community. Our self-referral rate in Saskatoon is well north of 90%. Mr. Speaker, these folks, at a very difficult time in their life, are reaching out for help. Mr. Speaker, and this is a government that is going to do our level best to use the strength of the economy to invest in that individual and to invest in the help that they need, because they are somebody's brother, sister, there probably could be a mother, Mr. Speaker, and they deserve an opportunity. And when they reach out for recovery help in this province, Mr. Speaker, we're going to do our level best to make sure it's available for them. So where are the threats, Mr. Speaker, to the opportunities that we have worked so hard, I think, through policies over the last decade and a half, Mr. Speaker, and continue to work at, and a shift over time? You know, where are the threats to the immediate opportunities that we have? There's tariff threats. I've often talked of 5 tariff threats that we have right now, Mr. Speaker. But I would also say that there's regulatory threats that we have faced as well. So we have Chinese tariffs on canola, Mr. Speaker. I'll start with those. 100% on canola. We have tariffs on peas, hogs, as well as seafood, which will impact probably Atlantic Canada significantly, Mr. Speaker, but not to the degree of the Canadian economic impact on the canola industry in particular, oil and meal. This is a response to a policy, a regulatory policy by a federal Liberal government supported by an NDP minority administration, Mr. Speaker, where they put 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs to protect an EV industry here in Canada that actually doesn't exist at this point, Mr. Speaker. There's some government money that has been flowing in to this industry, but it really, for all intents and purposes, doesn't employ or isn't a substantial industry in Canada at any point. In fact, there was an investment made in the EV auto industry in Quebec, Mr. Speaker. And just today, the Quebec government had put out a news release, and I quote, "The $270 million investment in Northvolt's parent company is now worthless," says the Quebec government. This is the industry that we're trying to protect at the expense of the Western Canadian canola industry, Mr. Speaker. This is this is a prime example of how wrong-headed or very harmful, short-sighted policies that are being made by a Liberal NDP minority government, Mr. Speaker, are having impacts in Western Canada. Herein lies the challenge that we have as coming together as Canadians, Mr. Speaker, and at the end I'll have the opportunity for us to just do that. Mr. Speaker, that's probably the most immediate and urgent threat that we have in Saskatchewan now is the 100% tariff on the canola industry. It is going to result, and I had asked the Prime Minister Carney at the time, Mr. Speaker, to reach out to the Chinese government prior to calling the election because of the urgency and the impact that these tariffs will have on not only the canola crush industry, the value-added industry, but on canola farmers in the province as well. That call, to my knowledge, has not been made as of yet. There was an announcement about increasing supports, unconsulted announcement about increasing supports, business risk management supports we have. We quickly reached out as the federal government was already in election mode, Mr. Speaker, under the writ. The federal Ministry of Agriculture has no direction, they have no funding, and they have no authority to actually negotiate with a province like Saskatchewan so that we could mutually support our ag producers. And unfortunately, that's all too common, the outcome that we have seen over the last 10 years, whether it's the oil industry, the mining industry, whether it's the ag industry now from a Liberal NDP government, Mr. Speaker, is a focus on a non-existent EV industry in Eastern Canada at the expense of the industries that are creating wealth for Western Canadian families. Mr. Speaker, second to that is the three tariff threats that have come out of the United States of America, which are really boiling down to the reciprocal tariffs of some type that will range between 0 and 25%. We saw most recently the auto industry is going to experience a 25% tariff, Mr. Speaker. We've been very clear with the federal government at no time should they be considering the use of export tariffs on Saskatchewan products, Mr. Speaker, to defend an industry somewhere else in Canada. That is exactly the reverse of what is happening when they are trying to protect that non-existent EV industry in Eastern Canada at the expense of the canola industry. We don't like that, and we don't expect it to be in return, Mr. Speaker. The approach that we have taken in Saskatchewan differs slightly from the advice we've received from across the floor, Mr. Speaker, and the approach we've taken is one to advocate and educate. All that we can talk to in the U.S., Mr. Speaker. You've seen different approaches taken by different subnational leaders. We'll see which ones may be successful and which ones may be challenged, Mr. Speaker, over the course of the next while. But I would say this, as you advocate and educate on behalf of Saskatchewan industries, it doesn't mean that we're standing in any way shoulder to shoulder with the decisions that the President is making. The President is very much putting at risk, I would say, the strongest economic relationship in the world, Mr. Speaker, whether it be the ongoing geography-based trade that has happened, whether it be NAFTA, USMCA, any of those agreements. What you see happening across North America is happening for a reason, Mr. Speaker. In this province, we produce $10 to $15 billion of the most sustainable oil that you can find in the world. Every barrel goes to the U.S., Mr. Speaker. Every barrel goes to the U.S., and it can't be replaced by U.S. oil. It needs to go to the U.S. The same with potash, Mr. Speaker. Significant amount of our potash goes to the U.S. You actually can't get Russian potash up the Mississippi physically into that Midwest to be used, Mr. Speaker. And so the trade relationship is one of necessity and efficiency, and I think has created one of the strongest continental economies in the world. And it is all being put at risk, at least temporarily, by the whims of the president. And so in no way do we support that. In no way do we support the most recent disturbing comments about trying to reduce the sanctions that are coming on, that are applied on Russian products. Those products are still finding their way into the global market, Mr. Speaker. But they're sanctioned for a reason, so that the world is not funding the illegal invasion of Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, and I would say a very valiant and important reason that should be respected by all Western leaders, Mr. Speaker. But in saying all of that, we continue to, Mr. Speaker, trade with the U.S., some of it by necessity, as an example of accessing and procuring mammography equipment, Mr. Speaker, so that we can expand healthcare services to address women's health here in the southern part of our province, Mr. Speaker. And I would say this is where there is some difference. We get into some differences across the floor of the Assembly, and it really boils down to two statements. One is the theme of the budget, where you have a government that is delivering for you. Delivering is a very actionable word, Mr. Speaker. It's delivering greater affordability for Saskatchewan families. It's delivering better health care, access to a primary care provider, and access to a surgery, Mr. Speaker, by investing very specifically in initiatives that are doing that. It's delivering for our students, our children, Mr. Speaker, in schools across this province. And it's delivering for every family when it comes to community safety, providing recovery supports, Mr. Speaker, and making our community safer. A very actionable word, delivering for you, versus, Mr. Speaker, nothing short of words coming from across the Assembly. And, this is where I want to get into some of the, I talked about the challenges that we have with Chinese tariffs. The challenges that we have are the threats from the U.S. Proposed tariffs, some that are in place. But don't ever in any way underestimate the challenges and the impact that federal policies are having on our ability in this province to secure and protect the jobs that we have, secure and protect the export markets that we have, over 160 countries, Mr. Speaker, but also limit our ability to grow in that space. And this morning I had the opportunity to talk about the, what we produce from a sustainability perspective, and it's the most sustainable product on earth, Mr. Speaker. It can become less sustainable and will produce less of that product if we allow federal policies to continue to move, Mr. Speaker. And we've talked many times about the various policies that have come, whether it's the clean electricity regulations, which are could cost if we were to follow them or not, Mr. Speaker, because they're senseless. We can't achieve them, Mr. Speaker, and they're unconsulted. Tens of billions of dollars on the backs of Saskatchewan families. Mr. Speaker, policy coming out of Ottawa supported by the NDP. Mr. Speaker, no words from the members opposite. C-69, the No More Pipelines bill, we had the No More Tanker bill, Mr. Speaker. Those are bills that have been supported by NDP governments, NDP oppositions federally as well as provincially, Mr. Speaker, across this country. Wouldn't we like to have Energy East today, Mr. Speaker? Hear, hear. Wouldn't? I said earlier that we produce $10 to $15 billion of oil each and every year, the most sustainable oil you can find on earth. All of that, every barrel goes to the U.S., Mr. Speaker. Why do you think that is? It's because we, as a federal government, a Liberal government supported by the NDP, have disallowed global access to that product. Right. We have disallowed, Mr. Speaker, and in doing so, disallowed that access, and in doing so, have not supported. The Liberal NDP minority government, I would say NDP oppositions and a few governments in BC and now other provinces, Mr. Speaker, have not been supportive of all Canadians, in particular those in the energy and mining industries, by the policies that have come forward that have limited our access to the world, Mr. Speaker. And now you see those same individuals standing up and saying, "Oh, you can't deal with the USA." Mr. Speaker, we have no other choice because of them. We have no other choice because of them, Mr. Speaker. So as we look ahead, Mr. Speaker, as we look ahead, I truly hope that this is an opportunity for all of us as Canadians, in a nonpartisan way, to come together and actually support building out the future of this nation, Mr. Speaker, in the style and effort and initiative and the vision that came when we built a railway across this nation, Mr. Speaker. And I'm not just speaking about pipes, Mr. Speaker. I'm speaking about policy in general. Policies that will support the expansion, in our case, of the most sustainable industries on earth, that will expand the mining industry, expand the oil and gas industry, expand our industries into helium and lithium, Mr. Speaker, and critical elements and rare earth elements, and expand the opportunities that we have to add value to our ag industry, Mr. Speaker, and it'll make our communities strong, and it'll certainly, Mr. Speaker, ensure that the government of Saskatchewan not only has a balanced budget this year, but has balanced budgets years into the future and is still able to make those record investments into health care to ensure that people are receiving the health care wherever they live in Saskatchewan, and that our education system is strong, Mr. Speaker. Policies matter, and your stance as an elected member, Mr. Speaker, on those policies matter. Mr. Speaker, and here's the opportunity that we have, and we've offered this to every national leader, Mr. Speaker, running in the federal election today, is as a start, you've backed up all of them on the, well, not on the NDP, on the consumer carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. But there is another carbon tax, the heavy emitter carbon tax, and we need those leaders to be clear with their position on that heavy emitter carbon tax. This is the quiet carbon tax that few Canadians see, but we all pay. Every single one of us pays it. Saskatchewan would be the outlier in the fact, we're not only the outlier in a balanced budget, we're the outlier in the fact that on your Saskatchewan power bill, we actually ensured that that was transparent and that Saskatchewan families see the cost of that quiet carbon tax. The rest of Canadians largely do not see that. You don't see it at the fuel pumps, but it's there. You don't see it at the grocery store, but it's there. You don't see it when you go buy your children clothes. You don't see it at the mechanic store when you're buying a new vehicle, but it's there. Every purchase you make, Mr. Speaker, there is a quiet carbon tax that is being charged on that. And I would say this as we go through, not only the federal leaders of each of the federal parties need to be clear in what they are going to do with that quiet carbon tax. And our ask is that you allow the provinces to regulate in that space. Some will go to zero like us. Some will freeze it at the level that it's at, and some in certain industries might even increase it over time. But it will ensure the competitiveness of our areas as provincial governments are much more responsive to the industries and the people in their respective province or territory. It will also ensure that we will continue to find our way to producing and continuing to produce the most sustainable products that you can ultimately find on earth. And here is what I would ask Canadians to ask for, is for exactly that. Ask the provinces to regulate in this space. Ask for good policy that is going to allow us to create jobs and opportunity for not only us that are here, but our children and our grandchildren. And be careful and watch for this. And I heard it many times today. When you hear an elected member, or anyone for that matter, say, no, we don't support the carbon tax, but. No, we don't support, we want to build pipelines, but, Mr. Speaker. But is a word to bridge to, the fact is they don't support it, Mr. Speaker, because they have questions, they have answers. This is... We're going to remove the consumer carbon tax, but we're going to make heavy emitters pay. Right. You will hear federal politicians say that. You'll hear members across that will agree with that and have said those words before. Right. Mr. Speaker, Saskatchewan people can be very clear with respect to this. Since the very day that this tax was announced and implemented, and I was there, there's been no but on the government's side of the equation. When it comes to our most recent campaign and committing to Saskatchewan people that Saskatchewan will remain the most affordable place in Canada to live, there is no but, Mr. Speaker, on the government side of that commitment, that we will deliver that for Saskatchewan families. When it comes to ensuring that Saskatchewan people who today 84% have access to a primary health care provider, Mr. Speaker, we are going to do better than that. We're going to use the strength of our economy to ensure that's the case. And we're going to ensure that, unlike many other areas in Canada, we're going to reduce our surgical wait time, Mr. Speaker. That's our commitment. We're going to use the strength of the economy to do it. There's no but following that statement. We are going to achieve it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to our K-3 outcomes and investing in our children and all of the teachers and assistants and those that are providing that education, Mr. Speaker, that investment is real. Whether it's in 27 new schools that are being built or planned as we speak, or whether it be directly into the classroom, Mr. Speaker, there's no but behind the investment that this budget delivers to Saskatchewan families and Saskatchewan students across this province. And most importantly, when it comes to providing recovery opportunities for our friends, family members, community members, provincial citizens that unfortunately may have succumbed to the poison that is in our streets, Mr. Speaker. There is no but to our commitment to providing that recovery opportunity, and there's certainly no but in our commitment to ensure that we have the law enforcement officers that are in our communities to get this garbage out of the province, and we will eradicate it. And I would ask law enforcement officers personally across this province that when you see someone that has this poison with them, in a safe way, Mr. Speaker, take it away. Just take it away. I don't care if they're dealing it or going to use it. Take it away, Mr. Speaker. It's killing people, and we need it out of our communities, and we need it out of our province. Mr. Speaker, we have an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to unite as Canadians around policy development. Mr. Speaker, there will be questions that go to the federal leaders, most certainly around this quiet carbon tax that all Canadians pay, Mr. Speaker, but not all Canadians see. Let's unite together to lower the cost of living for all Canadians where we can, Mr. Speaker, in a very tariff-fueled environment today, which is not going to lower the cost of anything, whether it's counter tariffs, Chinese tariffs, American tariffs, Mr. Speaker. In the light of all of that, Mr. Speaker, there's a budget delivered on the floor of this Assembly that is unique in Canada, coming very much from a position of strength and using the strength of the Saskatchewan economy that has been very much the focus of this government for 18 years now, Mr. Speaker, very much the focus of the previous leader, myself, and all of those that have served as MLAs and as ministers over that period of time, engaging in those trade relationships, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that we have access to those 160 countries where we're providing products. Why does that matter? It's so that we can make those investments on behalf of Saskatchewan peoples in those four aforementioned areas, Mr. Speaker, which are their priorities, and of which they've told us those are our priorities, Mr. Speaker. That's action, Mr. Speaker, and all we hear from the members opposite is talk. Mr. Speaker, this is a budget most certainly that I am proud to support because of what it delivers to Saskatchewan families that each and every one of us on this side of the House and collectively in this House represent, Mr. Speaker, and that's why I will not be supporting the amendment. Yet again, I'm 1,000%, as Doug Ford says, 1,000% on not supporting the opposition amendments in my political time in this House, but I will be supporting the main motion, Mr. Speaker, the budget that is balanced and is delivering on behalf of Saskatchewan people that was put forward by our Deputy Premier, our Minister of Finance, Mr. Speaker. It was seconded by the member from White City, Coppell, Mr. Speaker, and I'm very proud to do so.
It's my duty to Rule 31 sub 7 to inform the Assembly that the Minister of Finance is about to exercise his right to close the debate, and afterwards all members will be precluded from speaking to this question. The Minister has no more than 20 minutes to close the debate, and I recognize the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, what a great speech by a great leader. In these trying times, there is nobody better to lead our province. Mr. Speaker, I'm so honored to have the opportunity to rise today, stand in my place, and say a few words to close debate on the budget. Last week, when I had the privilege to deliver this budget speech, Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity to introduce my family and speak about my family. So I won't do that again today, but there are a few people that I do wish to mention and to thank. So I'm going to start with some people, some friends who are here for budget day, not here today, obviously, but I want to show them Hansard after this, Mr. Speaker. I had some friends from Rosetown who have been not just really good friends, but worked really hard on my campaign, Mr. Speaker. I had Jeff Legg here, who's my constituency president, but also was my sign manager. And for those of you in rural Saskatchewan know how important that job is. It's not the small lawn signs, Mr. Speaker, it's the big signs. It's a ton of work, it's a ton of hard work. He and his son Reese did just an incredible amount of work. Everywhere I drove during the campaign, I saw my name, not my face this year, Mr. Speaker. I avoided that because the member from Kenora-Pelly thinks I'm getting old. So, Mr. Speaker, they did just an incredible job. I appreciate that so much. Attending with Jeff was Norm McIntyre, my campaign manager, who pinch hit at the last minute for me, Mr. Speaker. My campaign manager from every election that I've been in, Jim Angus, had some health difficulties and had to step away, and Norm stepped up. He had helped on other campaigns before, but really delivered when I needed him, and so I thank him for that as well. And also, Mr. Speaker, a gentleman by the name of Dwayne Moore from Rosetown, who was my financial agent, who did just a great job, meticulous farmer, business owner, and just a great community person who is always working for the community and helped me out greatly. So I thank those three gentlemen. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank my constituency assistant, Kathy Perry, who she has been, I think I've been an MLA for almost 17 years now, Mr. Speaker, and she's been here for about 16 of those. Also worked very hard in the campaign, and I thank her for that as well. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank my staff in my office here, the Minister of Finance's office. Mr. Speaker, I have incredible staff. My Chief of Staff, Brady, my ministerial assistants, Jesse and Gio, hardworking, great work ethic, and also my admin, Jennifer. Mr. Speaker, I look back in the last couple of years when Donna Harpower was Minister of Finance and delivered the budgets, and I look back to look at what she talked about in the wrap-up speech, because I know we have time limit. I won't go on long, Mr. Speaker. And when she thanked the staff in the office, and she mentioned Jennifer by name, Mr. Speaker, and I have to read this verbatim, because when she thanked her, she said, she runs the office. She runs all of us, quite frankly. But, Mr. Speaker, that's true. Anybody who knows Jen knows that, I'll be honest, Mr. Speaker, I'm a little scared of her. But she also said this, she's absolutely amazing and we'd all be lost without her. So thank you to her. Thank you to all the wonderful, wonderful office staff I have. Mr. Speaker, and from that, I'm also going to thank the finance officials in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Speaker, the professional civil service, who developing the budget this year was more difficult than normal because of the timelines, because of the fact that we had an election. A lot of that work would have been done earlier. The meetings with Treasury Board would have been earlier. And Mr. Speaker, in that condensed timeline, lots of extra hours put in, lots of hard work, and I thank those officials as well. Mr. Speaker, and speaking of Treasury Board, I need to thank those members as well. We have the Minister of Agriculture, it's on Treasury Board, the Minister of Education. We have the member from Kindersley-Biggar. We have the member from Cutknife Turtleford. I wrote them all down this time so I didn't forget. The member from Humboldt-Watrous and the member from Lumsden-Morris. Mr. Speaker, and I have the privilege to chair that, Mr. Speaker. They all put a lot of hours in December, in January, when people are trying to get away on vacations. It tends to tie people here more than would be normal, and so thank you to all of you for all your hard work. So, Mr. Speaker, this budget is about delivering for the people of Saskatchewan. It hits the key issues, Mr. Speaker. It hits healthcare, where there's a 6.4% increase in the budget overall. And embedded in that is varying degrees of extra funding. The Cancer Agency, for example, over 12% increase in cancer for new technology, new medications, Mr. Speaker, to make sure our people get the best possible care. In education, we heard that these are the areas that need to be a priority during the election, and since then, Mr. Speaker, healthcare, education, a 8.4% increase to the money flowing to the school divisions to provide the front-level care, education for our students, Mr. Speaker. In community safety, Mr. Speaker, another key element to this budget, Mr. Speaker, money for more boots on the ground for police, money to make changes in the court system to get rid of the queues there, Mr. Speaker. And finally, on affordability. Mr. Speaker, much of this has been discussed on the floor of this Assembly already. The one that really stands out to me is the income tax changes. Leaving people's own money in their own pockets to let them make the decision of where their priorities are, Mr. Speaker. That's what's important. That's what I'm particularly proud of in this budget.
Here, here, here.
And Mr. Speaker, the announcement today on the carbon tax. What better way to address the affordability issue, Mr. Speaker?
Here, here.
Very key, very key. Mr. Speaker, I had an opportunity to delve into all those issues last week, the key parts of the budget during the budget speech, so I'm going to leave that for now. But I have a couple other issues that I want to bring up that are I think are timely, important, and near and dear to my heart. Since we've had the privilege to form government, and especially under this leader, under our Premier, we have made international trade, opening new markets for our businesses because we're an export-based economy. We've made that a priority of this government. Mr. Speaker, our Premier has led trade missions. Various ministers have been on trade missions. Mr. Speaker, we've opened international trade offices, and I think now more than ever it shows, because of the geopolitical situation we have, how beholden we have been to one customer, the United States, and the tension and the issues right now show how important it is to open those markets and to increase those markets around the world, Mr. Speaker, and that's been led by this Premier.
Here, here, here.
And Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, opposed at every step by the members of the opposition. Right. Mr. Speaker, the geopolitical situation today shows exactly how important it is that we have those markets, that we continue the work we've been done, and in fact, we accelerate that work, Mr. Speaker. And lastly, what I would like to discuss, Mr. Speaker, is I'm going to reminisce a little bit for you, if I could. I'm going to go back to, as I mentioned, the member from Kenora Pelly likes to, he's a bit of a smart aleck, Mr. Speaker. I assume that's not parliamentary, but he won't make a point of order, I promise you. Mr. Speaker, I first had the privilege of getting elected in 2007. I won a contested nomination in 2006, and I still vividly remember the content of my speech that night. I wanted to talk about why the main reason, lots of reasons, but the main reason that I wanted to run for politics, that I wanted to have the privilege to sit in this Assembly and be a member of the Legislative Assembly. And that was because here's what's always driven me crazy. When I graduated high school, most of my friends left. They moved to Alberta because that's where the opportunities were. Mr. Speaker, as I got older at that point in time, and now it became kind of the next generation. And my nieces, my nephew, my friends' kids, were all leaving the province to go to Alberta because that's where the opportunities were. It made no sense to me. We have all this abundance of resources and we never developed them, and we never developed our economy. We never grew our population. Our population was always just under 1 million people, stagnant, couldn't grow, no opportunities for our kids. Mr. Speaker, since then, I look at what has happened under this government I've been privileged to serve with. Mr. Speaker, the economy's grown. Our kids don't get luggage for graduation presents anymore. They have an opportunity, if they wish, to stay in this province, Mr. Speaker. That, to me, is what this is all about. It's about creating opportunities and creating growth. Not growth for growth's sake, Mr. Speaker, but growth for what it can do for our citizens, to provide health care. To provide health care for our citizens, to pay for education for our citizens, to pay for highways, to pay for social services, to pay for all the areas, all the priorities that our people need and deserve, Mr. Speaker. That's why we want growth in this province. It's growth of opportunity, and hand in hand with that, Mr. Speaker, is growth in population. And I just found it a wonderful coincidence that and it was, Mr. Speaker, and I feel so privileged that I had on budget day, during the delivery of the budget speech, I had the opportunity to inform all the gallery of people that were filled, the floors were filled, and anybody that was watching at home, that day, on budget day, Statistics Canada announced that for the first time ever, the population of Saskatchewan hit 1.25 million people. Mr. Speaker, that's what, from day one, this party, this government has been about. It's been about delivering opportunity to our citizens, and Mr. Speaker, that's what this budget continues to do, delivering for you. Mr. Speaker, I am so proud to move, I was so proud to move the motion, seconded by the member from White City, Quipel. Mr. Speaker, I will happily be supporting that motion, and I will not be supporting the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question before the Assembly is the proposed amendment, moved by the member for Regina Mount Royal and seconded by the member from Regina South Albert, that all the words after Assembly be omitted and the following be inserted. Does not approve the budgetary policy of the government because it proposes cuts to health care and education while failing to respond to the threat and impact of tariffs, including those imposed by Donald Trump, and further, that the Assembly has lost confidence in the government. Is it the pleasure of the Assembly to adopt the amendment? No. Those in favour of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed to the amendment, please say no. No. Calling the members. All those in favour of the amendment, please stand.
Emily Beck. Yes. Emily Ritchie.
Yes.
Emily Berkey.
Yes.
Emily Nippy Albright. Oops. Emily Mowat.
Yes.
Emily Witherspoon.
Yes.
Emily Lowe.
Yes.
Emily Young, Regina South.
Yes.
Emily Clark.
Yes.
Emily McPhail.
Yes.
Emily Sarr.
Yes.
Emily Conway.
Yes.
Emily Blakely.
Yes.
Emily Graywall.
Yes.
Emily Chief Cap.
Yes.
Emily Jorgensen.
Yes.
Emily Barr.
Yes.
Emily Gordon.
Yes.
Emily Warrington.
Yes.
Emily Pratchler.
Yes.
Emily Hauser.
Yes.
Emily Singer.
Yes.
MLA Roy.
Oui.
All of those opposed to the amendment, please stand.
MLA Mo.
No.
MLA Harrison Canning.
No.
MLA Kading.
No.
MLA Merritt.
No.
MLA Cochrane.
No.
MLA Ryder.
No.
MLA Hindley.
No.
MLA Harrison Meadow Lake.
No.
MLA Jensen.
No.
MLA Cheveldale.
No.
MLA Kiesig.
No.
MLA Thorsteinson.
No.
MLA Martins.
No.
MLA Hilbert.
No.
MLA Steele.
No.
MLA Schmaltz.
No.
MLA Ross.
No.
MLA McLeod Moose Jaw North.
No.
MLA Carr.
No.
MLA Wilson.
No.
MLA Weedmark.
No.
MLA Beaudry.
No.
MLA McLeod Lumsden North, or Lumsden Morse.
No.
MLA Crossweller.
No.
MLA Crop.
No.
MLA Uyghur.
No.
MLA Patterson.
No.
MLA Brome.
No.
MLA Roden.
No.
MLA Chan.
No.
MLA Gartner.
No.
MLA Kassoon.
No.
Speaker, those in favor of the amendment 22, those opposed to the amendment 32.
I declare the amendment lost. So the question before the Assembly is the main motion moved by the Minister of Finance and seconded by the member for White City Qu'Appelle, that the Assembly approves in general the budgetary policy of the government. Is it the pleasure of the Assembly to adopt the motion? Aye. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. And those opposed to the motion, please say no. No. Calling the members. All those in favor of the motion, please stand.
MLA Moe.
Yes.
MLA Harrison Cannington.
Yes.
MLA Kading.
Yes.
MLA Merritt.
Yes.
MLA Cockrell.
Yes.
MLA Ryder.
Yes.
MLA Hindley.
Yes.
MLA Harrison Meadow Lake.
Yes.
MLA Jensen.
Yes.
MLA Cheveldale.
Yes.
MLA Kiesig.
Yes.
MLA Thorsteinson.
Yes.
MLA Martins.
Yes.
MLA Hilbert.
Yes.
MLA Steele.
Yes.
MLA Schmaltz.
Yes.
MLA Ross.
Yes.
MLA McLeod Moose Jaw North.
Yes.
MLA Carr.
Yes.
MLA Wilson.
Yes.
MLA Weedmark.
Yes.
MLA Beaudry.
Yes.
MLA McLeod Lumsden Morse.
Yes.
Emily Crossweller,
Yes.
Emily Crop,
Yes.
Emily Uyghur,
Yes.
Emily Patterson,
Yes.
Emily Brown,
Yes.
Emily Roden,
Yes.
Emily Chan,
Yes.
Emily Gartner,
Yes.
Emily Kassoon,
Yes.
All those opposed to the motion, please stand.
Emily Beck,
No.
Emily Ritchie,
No.
Emily Berkey,
No.
Emily Mowat,
No.
Emily Witherspoon,
No.
Emily Lowe,
No.
Emily Young, Regina South Health,
No.
Emily Clark,
No.
Emily McPhail,
No.
Emily Sarr,
No.
Emily Conway,
No.
Emily Blakely,
No.
Emily Greywall,
No.
Emily Cheaptown,
No.
Emily Jorgensen,
No.
Emily Brar,
No.
Emily Gordon,
No.
Emily Warrington,
No.
Emily Pratchler,
No.
Emily Hauser,
No.
Emily Singer,
No.
Emily Waugh,
No.
Speaker, those in favor of the motion, 32. Those opposed to the motion, 22.
I declare the motion carried. I recognize the Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House do now adjourn.
So before we adjourn, I just wanted to say thank you for all the hard work to everyone. It was my first chance to sit from this side and watch the budget. But I wanted to read a text that I received yesterday, and don't fear, no fear there. So I don't want to keep us from the roads heading home, but the text was very simple, and it was from my son. And it was yesterday. It said, I love you, Dad. And so I wondered, why did he send me this? And Premier's thinking, God, you're always crying, so I won't cry. But I might cry. But I thought, what's gone on? My son, what do you do? Turned out his one of his closest friends, father, one of my closest friends, passed away yesterday. So I was thinking of you all. You're all my friends. And there's a storm coming in on the road. And I just wanted to wish you a safe trip home and remind you before you leave, maybe text a few, not while you're on the road, but just send out some text. Because my son, I said to him, wow, that's two of your closest friends have lost their dads. And he said, Dad, it's 3. And he said, I'll bet you that they would do anything to have the opportunity to tell their dads, one last time, I love you, Dad. So, before you head home, travel safely. God bless you all. Thanks for being friends. Have a good time. this House stands adjourned, and I will see you Monday at 1:30. Thank you.